you know what? I'm going to go back to my... All right, so I started again here because I don't know what I did yesterday, but I'm wanting to share this on my Facebook group, but we'll see what happens here. I'll have to share it when I'm done, I guess. So anyways, we're on to day 2 here of the goal setting challenge, my New Year challenge that I am doing for everybody. And so just a quick recap. Yesterday we looked at going more deeply into our goals. Like I mentioned, there's, crisis kind of goals that we need to focus on right away. Like, hey, I need to make more money, or I need to get my health in order, or my marriage is falling apart and I need to address that. So sometimes we can have immediate crises determine what our goals are right now. Okay, that this is what we know we need to focus on and work on, right? But besides that, though, we also have bigger goals that end up addressing how we live our whole lives and what we're doing with our lives in a big picture. We want to make sure we can die with no regrets, that we've lived on purpose. And so I talked about different aspects of that and gave some exercises to do in terms of envisioning your ideal life if you didn't have any money problems, relationship, health problems, whatever, but all those other things were all in place. And ta-da, you are free to live your ideal life, to really follow what is in your DNA. That would be your passion, your purpose, your calling. And sometimes it's something that needs to be explored and discovered by trying out different things. I remember hearing the story of this one man who, I forget if he was a billionaire, or definitely a multimillionaire. He had everything. He had a great home, family, career, tons of money. And he was kind of just drifting, not knowing, feeling like he had no purpose, and just his life really wasn't going anywhere, even though his life was a huge success. And so what ended up happening is with a friend of his, I think they went over to Africa, and they bought wheelchairs for people and bought them or brought them or whatever for people who, were handicapped and weren't able to move around. And in doing that venture of providing wheelchairs for people in someplace in Africa sort of thing, it brought such gratification to him that it then became his life mission and gave him a sense of purpose and fulfillment, since he had already everything else. So sometimes it's something you kind of discover that way if you've already achieved, success in the usual sense of having all your material needs met and, wonderful relationship, family, home, and all that kind of stuff. It's something that can be discovered and explored by trying out different things, okay? Now, again, just to, if you missed yesterday, we talked about a whole bunch of things. So do watch that video and do sign up so you can get the handouts that go along with things, all right? So we kind of explored for you to then take some time to assess your life, see what kind of goals you wanted to create, and kind of get that down. So today we're going now a step further, where today we want to, let me just kind of check on here, on my Facebook page, because I was wanting to go live here, but that, I don't know, they've got a whole new system now and that's not working. Anyways, is to talk about how to prioritize your goals, all right? Because number one, if we go through the different areas of our life in terms of finances and career and health and relationships and, travel, fun, adventure and personal growth or whatever, it's like, oh my goodness, we could easily come up with 100 goals, all right? There's so many things. There's no end to a number of goals we can create for our lives, right? There's no end to it. We can get easily overwhelmed and go into chaos as to, oh my God, what am I going to do here? There's so many things I want and could do. There's so many amazing opportunities and so much potential. So we need to hone that in, all right? We need to hone it in and prioritize. And so a key thing is again, doing that life assessment. You've got to just see what is it that's most important for you to focus on now. And here, I want to bring in what's called the Pareto principle, and I'm sure you may have heard of it, the 80-20 rule. This Italian, a long time ago discovered and came across this reality about life, is that 20% of the people in Italy at that time owned 80% of the wealth, right? They were in the top percentile. Like again, the 20% of the population, they were the ones who had the most power, the most money, the wealth, the most influence. They were sort of the upper crust of society, and yet they were responsible for 80% of the wealth in society. And then discovered, well, wow, this can apply to all kinds of things. And I think it's so apropos when you look in your closet, because this is what always works for me. I look at my closet and I look at what do I wear every day. And basically, out of 100% of what you have for clothing to wear, you'll end up only wearing about 20% of it. And 80% just sits there, right? That sort of principle applies to virtually everything, in that they've noted that in terms of if you have a number of customers, 20% of your customers will be responsible for 80% of your sales. Okay, they're the ones that they're going to be buying all of your stuff. So this is a principle that applies in all kinds of ways in life, and so we can apply that to our goals. So if you had 100 goals, only 20 of those goals are really going to be the ones that really count. And then reduce that. Out of 10 goals, only 1 to 2 of those are the ones that you really should be focusing on right now, that you should prioritize. These are the ones that are going to have the most impact on your life and shift it in the most powerful way. Because we gotta be on guard that we don't get ourselves overwhelmed by having like a gazillion goals to do, all right? And so there's different ways of approaching how to figure out which ones are you going to prioritize. Sometimes it's obvious to you, I really need to focus on this. And let me just highlight here that another study that was done, what was it? A study that was done with respect to the wealthy and successful. That the wealthy and successful, 85% of them only worked on one big goal at a time. They had that kind of focus to just work on that one big goal at a time. Whereas people that are amongst the poor, only 3% of them focus on only one big goal. Otherwise, generally, a lot of them don't even focus on any goals, or it's just all scattered. That's the key to success, is zeroing in. We have to focus largely on one big thing at a time and get that completed, right? And that can apply on your daily life in terms of like, okay, over the next hour to 3 hours, I'm going to just focus on this one thing and bring it to completion instead of being scattered and trying to multitask and do 20 different things within those 3 hours. It's like, no, zero in and get that one thing done, all right, in a certain slot of time. And it also applies on the macro scale, where over the next 90 days, over the next 3 months, this is going to be my number one big project, okay, to bring it to completion, to bring to success, okay? And so keep this in mind, that you want to zero in on what's really important, will have the most impact, and get that completed, okay? So having that in mind, how do you figure out which one's the number one? Sometimes, as I said, it's obvious, and other times it might not be that obvious. So you could do, sort of like the tournament thing, where you could list all your goals, and then I've got a sheet on that, and I'll, actually it's on a slide that I have in a little webinar series thing that I will kind of put in the PDFs to email for those who sign up for this. But, you'll have one project or goal here and just list them all. And then have one versus the next. Of those two, which one's most important? Okay, that's the next slot. Then the next two, which of those two are the most important? Okay, pick one. Okay, and then you go down the list. Of these next two, which one's the most important? You go down, 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 down. And then out of all those, you do the same thing. Of these two, which one's most important, right? And of those two, which one's most important? And then you nail it down to what's really number one. So that's one process that you can do, is sort of like a tournament, I don't know what you call that, to see who wins, right? Which of the two win. And you kind of go through it that way. Another way of doing it is listing some key projects All right. And then you do a bit of an assessment on a scale of 1 to 5, where you assess what are some key criteria that's important to you in this project here or this particular goal. Is it, and say, for example, if it's in business, if you want to take on certain projects or writing projects or creating a course or a program type project, you will ask which one would be easiest for me to do, for example, which one would be the fastest for me to do, which one would maybe bring in the most money, which one would have the most appeal to the people that I'm already connected with, which one would have the greatest impact in moving my business forward. Those could be 5 criteria. And then for each project, you assess, okay, for each criteria from 1 to 5, where is it at this point? Where is it at that point? Where is it at that point? And you add them up. And then you come up with a total at the end. Okay, and the one that has the biggest number wins. All right, so I don't know if that makes sense to you. It helps having the sheets in front of you for this, so that's why I want you to sign up and get those sheets, and then this will be more clear to you. Okay, but that's another way of prioritizing, is doing that kind of assessment of your projects to determine which one will have the greatest impact, will bring you what you most want in your life. Okay, and so you can evaluate things, and this is a great way to say, for example, be more crass, because for a lot of people it'll be health and fitness. That's not so much an issue for me because I exercise regularly, I eat well, I don't have any health issues. It's not a priority for me to create a goal around that as such. Okay, I've got other priorities. Okay, but for a lot of people that's a priority, and I do think it has to be always a key priority is your health. It's foundational to success. It's foundational to your life. It's even foundational to your spirituality. I think I mentioned this yesterday in the video that, if you are not feeling well physically, it will affect your mental state, and it also affects you on a spiritual level, okay? And when you're feeling great, that is when you're in a positive state of mind. You're feeling more connected to who you are and to all of life. You've got the energy to go forward and take action and do what you want to do. It's foundational. Health is foundational. So say you want to get into a physical exercise program, and you can have possibilities. Think of possibilities, okay? Think of, again, open up the realm of possibilities. We get so stuck in tunnel vision and just think it's just got to go one way. So for most people, they right away think, I got to go to the gym and start doing an aerobics class. But I hate going to the gym. Or it's a real pain time-wise to get to the gym. I just can't fit it into my schedule. Or it costs too much money to get that gym membership. Or there's no parking there and I'm always late. Or who knows, whatever the issues are. For me, I love doing sports because I like to have fun. I find it so boring going on a treadmill and doing that, or just going out jogging. And for me, it's too monotonous. I don't like it. It's too boring. It's no fun. It's not for me. So I love doing sports. But too, it's not for everybody. You have more fun at a sport when you're skilled at it, when you can get pretty good at it. And so it's a challenge, and I love the challenge of the sport. I like to win. I like to make those points and get the score and I love the challenge of it. And I also love the social aspect because I meet new people, make new friends, and you got the kind of the social thing. So I love sports. I also love dancing because I love music and going to the music, and you learn how to do different dances, right? And it's also social, and it's a way of getting out. And even too, like if you're single, you can get out and dance, right? You can find different places, take up some lessons somewhere, and it's a way of getting out, meeting new people, having fun, getting your exercise. That's what works for me. And so I have that as always a part of my weekly schedule. Is I've got scheduled times where I go out and do these sorts of activities that I get my exercise, I have my fun, it's socializing, I develop skills in all of them, right? I get better at different things. And so I'm always growing, and it's just great all around. So So that's how, I approach it. It's like doing that one thing. There's a lot of whammies in it. There's a lot of benefits, not just one of going jogging every day and I get that benefit. It's like, no, I get the social benefit, I get the fun benefit. Okay, I develop skill set, and it's also better for your body doing different kinds of movements, developing your reflexes instead of just a monotonous, walking, jogging, cycling, whatever. You're just using the same muscles every day. Whereas with sports, you've got to move around and develop different muscles, and it uses your whole body in all kinds of ways. Same thing with dancing. And you've got the mind-body connection happening for reflexes. Whereas when you just do something monotonous like jogging, you can just totally tune out. It becomes mechanical. There's not much going on up there. It's more of a great form of meditation for a lot of people, right? It helps them to clear the mind, and it's useful for that respect, okay? But anyway, so just do what works for you. Explore possibilities. Think outside of the box. Think of how you can make something a bigger win in different ways for yourself, okay? How one goal can actually encompass other goals within it. All right, and so that when you select and prioritize what's important to you, keep these things in mind. All right, keep these things in mind. Now, what I'd also like to add to this, if what was it I was thinking of? I had some thoughts. Oh yes, here it is. The sheet that I do have available here is you want to go through and assess of your goals, which goals are short-term goals and which goals are long-term goals, all right? And you want to kind of slot that, and then keep that in mind when you schedule your goals. And I like to work with a quarterly worksheet. I'll just show it here because I have it here for you. You can kind of see that, if that shows up at all for you. Where you can kind of segment the year out into 3-month periods. Because as I'll be talking about down the road, working with a 90-day schedule. There was a book I read some years ago, The 12-Week Year, and it's way more powerful and effective. You'll be far more motivated when you work always thinking that instead of, this is my goal for the year, think of, this is my goal for the next 3 months. All right, the next 90 days. Boom, you got to get on it, all right? It's way more motivating to work within 90-day frameworks, all right? And to slot your goals in those categories. So you think of more short-term goals. And then, okay, this goal here, instead of getting overwhelmed, I'm going to slot it into the next quarter, all right? Or the third quarter, all right? You move it down the road. And that way you don't get overwhelmed of thinking, these are all my goals for this year, and it's just too much. You've got to slot them into these quarters, okay? That makes it more manageable for you. So determine which ones are the short term versus the long term, and they can feed into each other, right? The short term can be sort of a building block or major step that can feed into the larger long-term goal. And that only makes sense because really all these different goals are just feeding into your ideal, that vision you have of realizing your ideal life, right? It's all leading to that ultimate end goal of what would be just the perfect life for you, right? In terms of where you live, how you're living, the whole setup in terms of environment, home, finances, relationship, where it all kind of comes together like a pyramid into that peak of your ideal life. And so all your goals are just stepping stones. And so we need to slot them in place in a time frame as to where they'll lead up. And that's where, again, you can work with, you've got your 1-year goals and then 3-year goals and maybe 10-year goals, all right? You can kind of map it all out like that for yourself. So continuing on, so you need to do the short-term versus long-term and put them into quarterly sections, okay? Now, what I did want to bring up as well is when we think about our goals, is we need to keep in mind 3 distinct things, because these are things that are all a part of realizing a goal. A, you have the ultimate, you're clear on the outcome, the result. What is the tangible result you want, okay? So for example, could be in terms of fitness is the result would be to lose 10 pounds and I don't know. You can run, 3 miles in, 20 minutes or something. I don't know what it is. It's something like that, okay? You've got very specific outcome, all right, the result that you want. That's the goal. Now, second part of the goal, though, is how am I going to do that? What are my strategies involved for attaining that? Okay, so that's going to involve, well, okay, this is going to be kind of the diet that I would follow. Well, specifically, what is that? What does that look like? All right, and then specifically, okay, what are my recipes? What's my shopping list to get groceries? How am I going to set up my cooking routine so I can implement this particular type of diet? And then exactly what am I going to be doing for exercises to build myself up to be able to run 3 miles in 20 minutes or whatever it is that I want for an outcome. Okay, so you need the strategies laid out. So you've got the end outcome very clear, and then secondly, clear on the strategies involved to get there, the how to. And then the third thing, and this is something that's always neglected, is your sense of identity. You need to shift your sense of identity of who you are, who you need to be to realize that outcome. All right, that I am a healthy, fit person committed to my well-being, right? You got to own that identity. And how do you own that identity? By just every day taking a positive step, a positive action that supports that identity instead of undermining it, right? And holding to an old identity that, oh, I'm so out of shape identity, right? It's huge of how you view yourself, how you identify, what you actually feel and believe about who you are, all right? That is often our biggest obstacle, is our sense of identity, what we're actually believing at a subconscious level about ourselves. Because that subconscious belief about who I am, all right, is that, oh no, I'm so out of shape, I cannot do that. There's no way, I'm just so out of shape. I'm such an unhealthy person or something, right? And you got that identity going, well, then that's going to sabotage you. You're going to live out and act upon that identity, all right? It's going to show up again and again. So you've got to start to shift it, own a new identity by affirming it verbally, claiming that identity for yourself verbally every day, and committing to a very specific action that supports that identity every day, okay? You've got to start shifting your identity around it. And that then will help you to continue to step forward and make progress on that goal, okay? And so this is going to tie in a bit when we're going to talk about creating your daily success rituals. That's going to be a powerful and a very important part of that. And we need to do this every day. And it's that persistence, consistency to boom, 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 shift through. Now, this has been said. Often you've heard that, you need to, when you develop a new habit, follow through with it for 30 days. Others say 90 days. Others say if you have shifted your lifestyle and put into place a new thing in your lifestyle for 6 months, is permanently in place. And others say if you can even stick with something, with some kind of new little tweak to your habit, and for 5 days, you're already busted through a major block there. Okay, so which of these is true? Who knows? I think it might vary on what it is that you're trying to do, and on the person, how difficult it might be for them to make the change. They all have their validity, but the key thing is to get started and to stick with it. And I would make it first. My goal is like, hey, can I stick with it just for the 1 week? Let's just start with doing it for 1 week. Okay, and then let's do it for another week, and do it for another week, and do it for another week. Okay, as we start to shift our identity around it and taking daily action towards our goals. Okay, all right. So since this is live somewhere, and I'm going to be sharing it when I'm finished, and I'm not too sure what I did differently today, that it's not on the page, and I don't know. I tell you, I'm still learning all this stuff, but I will be sharing this, and you'll have to watch it after I finish this. So thanks for watching this. Do share it and do sign up, and I will be polishing all of this up into a course down the road. Okay, so thanks for taking this in. Best to you.